Good morning, everyone, and welcome to October at Decisive Squirrel Homestead. It is finally really fall. I was a little skeptical last week, but we've had several nights in the 50s. It's been really nice to get out in the morning when it's 50 or 60 degrees, well, 55 or 60 degrees, and get some work done before it's too hot out here. It's 80 right now, but it's almost lunchtime. That's really cool for us. We've finally cooled down from our record-breaking summer, and we are ready to get the fall garden going. So we spent a lot of time this weekend getting things cleaned up and ready to go, and my task for the week will be getting everything planted. So let's take a look at how everything's doing before we get everything going for the fall garden. All right, first up over here in our bean patch, you can see on this side, things are not going well. We still are not going to get any green beans. That's just how it's going to go this year. I will definitely be spending some time getting this soil improved so that this can be one of our growing areas, but it's just not there yet. But over here on the other side, where things are in the shade, the lima beans are super happy. We've never grown lima beans before, but this is going really well. You can probably see there are lots of pods on these plants, and I think what we're going to be doing is just letting these dry on the vine and collect dried lima beans at the end of the season. So things are going well so far, and if we can just hold off on too cold weather for a while, I think we're going to get a good harvest of lima beans. Over here, our hugelkultur is still just sitting. There's nothing in here. I think I'm going to plant this whole hugelkultur bed with mustard and see if I can collect mustard seed. That was a big fail in the spring, but I'm hoping it will go a little bit better in the cooler weather. Our compost pile over here has many piles because we were cleaning up this weekend. So there's some extra greenage that needs to go into compost piles. We have one big pile over here. We need to expand these bins and have more space for that. And then there is also a pile of grass that will not go in the compost, just because that tends to end up growing grass in the garden if we do that. So lots of compost getting ready. And then over here on the side, the berry vines are all cleaned up. So it took a long time, but I got all of those weeds that were in that last video cleared out. We put a really thick layer of mulch down to hopefully keep the grass from growing up for a while. And you can see that we have settled on 2 blackberry vines that are doing really well, and then our native dewberry vine down here at the end, which will take over if we just let it. So I've kind of trimmed that back and kept it to just a few spots that are coming up and keeping it kind of to its little area right here so we can still get in there and get the dewberries. Now over time, this is going to spread out. It's going to put up more canes farther away, and I'll let that happen all the way down there to the end. But for right now, we're keeping this little area confined right here. Now the blackberries that did well, just so we know and we're upfront about everything, we had tried to buy berry vines at like Sam's and things like that, and they grew pretty well, but they never produced anything. These plants that are doing really well are from a local co-op that were potted plants, and they are much happier. So in the future, we will not waste our money on any cheaper plants from like Sam's and Home Depot and things like that, and we will stick to the ones that are potted and have a good start and are grown specifically for our area. Let's see, I pulled out all of the purple whole peas that were here, and those were dried on the vine, so I shelled those yesterday. That was a nice little time to just sit, and it's kind of meditative. You're not watching TV, you're not listening to a podcast, you just sit and you listen to nature and you shell peas. And I think maybe we don't have enough of that in our lives these days. It's kind of nice to just sit and just be. Our pumpkin plants, we have our one pumpkin down here that's doing quite well. I actually cut out the beginning of this vine. It wasn't doing anything anyway. The squash vine borers had gotten it, and the plant has put down other roots. So I trimmed everything back. There are no extra runners off of this plant anymore. There's just the main runner that's feeding that one pumpkin. And same thing over here. There's one big pumpkin hanging on the vine over here. And I also cut back the beginning of this plant because it wasn't doing anything anyway. Big basil bush is still here. I haven't cut that out yet. There's really no point. There's some new basil growing up over here. And our sage plant that didn't grow all spring and summer is finally a little bit happy. Tomato vines are not doing real good, and I think we're probably going to pull those out. I just haven't done it yet. They are putting out blooms, and it's cool enough for them to set fruit, but I think they're just not happy because they're so old. I'm thinking probably what I should have done was cut them back really short earlier in the season, and then they may have done better. They may have put out new shoots that were healthier, but it was an experiment, not a big loss. We'll see what happens. The rest of the garden here is pretty much cleared out. I got rid of the okra except for one plant down there on the end, and I also cut that one back a lot. The huge bushy areas down here, that is actually primarily one tomato plant that we did not plant, but it's putting out a lot of cherry tomatoes. So we're leaving it for right now, but it is going to be cut out eventually. Let's see, our fig tree down here is actually producing figs for the first time, so that's exciting. I think there are a few on this one. Yeah, it's starting to make a few little figs here. And then this other one is doing even better. It's got some nice sized figs that are starting to grow. So that's exciting because these guys have just been hanging out and not doing a whole lot all summer. Now they did go in the spring, and then we had that record-breaking summer, so not too surprised, but glad to see it producing something. Chickens moved to a new area, and they are very happy to be on some fresh grass. They're still molting, so they're not super happy. We're getting 5 or 6 eggs a day from 11 chickens, so that's not too bad. Got lots of feathers in there. They think maybe I brought them more food, but I did not. They've already had their food for the morning. They've got to eat bugs and grass now. Last but not least are our wicking beds. And you can see all this grass that's grown up back here. We didn't get around to cutting that this weekend. That needs to go. But we did add some more soil to these beds where it had settled and just been sitting for a long time. So these first beds are empty, and we're going to be planting lettuce and beets in here. And then this is our herb bed, which I'm sure will put up more plants soon. There was mint in here, so I'm sure the mint's going to come back. I wouldn't be surprised if the oregano comes back, and you can see the basil's there and has gone to seed, so we'll be getting basil too. Our asparagus, super happy, keeps putting up new shoots. It's not too cold for it yet, I guess. I have some that's just ferning out in this bed, and then these last 2 beds down here I cut back because we still have quite a ways to go with warm weather. We're in zone 8B. Our first frost date is the beginning of December, so here in October we've still got quite a bit of time. So we'll probably actually harvest a little bit of asparagus for eating in the fall. I know that's not normal, but it will work here. And then the rest of it we'll let fern out and put some energy back into those crowns. So that's how things are going here. This week is going to be all about planting. I'm planning to get carrots, beets, green peas, mustard, lettuce, let's see, all of those things directly in the ground. Oh, probably some bok choy, some Swiss chard. And then I've started seed for broccoli and cabbages. They're not quite ready to move over to the garden yet, but they're getting close. Those will probably be going in another week or 2. And then I haven't decided whether to do cauliflower or not. That's kind of hit and miss around here. Some years it's just too hot too soon and it doesn't really do well. But I think that's all that's going to go in for the fall. Garlic, we'll put in garlic around the garden and let that go over winter. But those will be our fall plants, and then it'll be time to start planning for spring. So we'll have to be getting out the seed catalogs and deciding what to order, because we start seed around here usually around February. We start starting seed. So fall garden, and then before we know it, it'll be time to plan for spring again. I hope y'all are having a great time enjoying the cooler weather, and we will see y'all later. Bye.